This is Jeff Blauett, technical agronomist for Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and we're back for season 2 of CFE Field Friday. Last year we tried to do segments weekly that were kind of what's going on in the field, and I think we're going to try and do the same thing again this year. Hopefully with all the things that change from year to year, it won't be a bunch of rehash from prior episodes of 2017, but thought we'd try and get going a little earlier this year, but our spring was just like your spring. It kind of got a late start and drug on forever, and yeah, everything's happening so fast, and then Mother Nature's put everything in overdrive, so we're a little late getting started, but that's okay. I thought I'd talk about the corn today. That's kind of the most interesting thing this year at this point is how fast this stuff is growing and moving along. We all know we've had exceptional heat. We've had no cool downs really. We've had warm nights the whole time. So growing to green and accumulations, almost at a record pace and for a long period of time. I'm out in a field here today. This is actually my little field. I thought it'd be good to discuss because it's a field that I know the details on. This corn was planted May 22. So if we think about that, May 22, we've probably got somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 days or so growth here, and a lot of times we're waiting for this corn to come out of the ground for 10 to 14 days. This corn this year was out of the ground in about 5.5 days, 5 days, and we've got corn out here. If we stage this corn is V6 already, which is incredible. If you do the math on heat units where we're at today for this location, we probably are in the neighborhood of 520 growing degree units from planting. If you figure the first 100 growing degree units roughly to get it out of the ground, and you're supposed to get about 80 to 85 growing degree units per leaf stage at this time of growth. Realistically, this year it's closer to 70, which is, it's why we've had a hard time keeping up spraying. This corn is growing so fast, and it's good. I mean, that really helps us. If we compare this to last year, we're probably growing degree unit wise the same planting date last year versus this year. We're probably 10 to 14 days ahead of last year if you would have planted it the same time, especially in early May, just because we were so warm and stayed warm compared to a year ago. Even the 30-year average, we're probably somewhere, and if you planted in the first half of May, you're probably somewhere at least a week, maybe even 10 days ahead of heat unit accumulation versus the average. But we had a lot of corn planted that last week of May, especially as we get into Osceola, Dickinson, we get across into Minnesota. A lot of these areas that were wet or longer, there's a lot of corn that was planted after that 20th of May. And I know we had a lot of discussions about switching to earlier hybrids and all that kind of stuff, but realistically this year it may work out where we probably didn't need to, and those that stuck to their normal maturities might be rewarded for that. We've really gotten, even the May 25th time frame, we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a week more heat unit accumulation than we normally would have against the 30-year average. So, that's giving us another week of growth that we kind of gained back. So it's like planting corn a week earlier at least, maybe even 10 days, because the heat accumulation is a little bit quicker, or a little bit slower early in May, I should say. But one of the consequences of this rapid growth, and I think we'll see more of this if we get some more wind and some rain and some things here, as we've had some rains go through and some windy days. If you look at this corn, you'll notice how it's kind of leaned over the direction the wind kind of blew it. We've got a really small root system. We're supposed to have a root system that's about this, about as far underground as we are vertical. We're not even close to that because of the rapid growth. It's not really going to hurt anything. This corn will stand back up and it'll be fine. You won't notice it in a couple of days. You might have a little bit of a bend in the bottom of the stalk, but it's pretty flexible at this time of year. But we've just got a really small set of roots to anchor that plant today, and it's going to take some time for that root system to try and catch up, and I don't know that it will, just because of the way things have gone so fast. But it's also going to lead to some things. We're going to see some short-term nutrient deficiencies potentially, especially if we would dry out here or some of these lighter soils, because we're trying to feed a bigger plant with a smaller root system, and that usually leads to some short-term shortages on some things. But just wanted to touch on that today. I've got a heat unit accumulation chart here that gives you some dates and some comparisons and some estimated black layer and silking dates, just so you can compare for your own field and get an estimate on when things are going to happen. So with that, we'll look forward to seeing you next week on CFE Field Friday.